Okay. It says recording is in progress, so that's good. Um, Afterwards, I'll have some sort of recording for it, and then I'll have to send out a link to probably just like a YouTube video. So cool. Okay, let's get started. I'll share my screen, and I have a lot of screens. So where in the world is it? There it is. Okay. 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 This is hilarious. I keep clicking the wrong profile. I feel like an amateur right now. I have like three different laser map maker profiles for testing purposes, and we've been doing a lot of testing today. So just one moment. Let me figure this out. Oh man.
We we appreciate you doing this regardless, so thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
shows
problem.
how much you've been putting into it.
Yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, we have some really exciting things coming up. I'm really just close. Yep. Okay. This has got to be it. Okay. My goodness. Phew. All right. So, does everyone see this laser map maker dashboard?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So, when you land on laser map maker, you create an account, just sign up for free. You just username and password, and then you can get to this dashboard. And there's actually this thing now that we just started doing, where every 30 days, we're gonna just give you three free exports, just to kind of help. Sometimes people just need a little extra before making a decision there. And as you can see, we've got some projects. These are just like past projects I was working on. Uh, so I'm gonna give you like a crash course, like if I were trying to get out the door and make a map, and I'm gonna try to explain myself on the way. Um, this is meant to go a little fast in the beginning here, just to show you that the purpose of the software is for this kind of speed once you get the hang of things. So we will go back to the studio and you can ask all those questions. You can ask me to do things over. We can talk about tools, all that stuff. But the first thing is, if somebody were to come in here and say, I want to create a project, and we'll just use my location here. I'm from well, I'm not from, but I live in Astoria, Oregon. And what I would suggest is anybody who's never made a map before, from Laser Map Maker especially, just use the basic city map. That's a template. So it says choose your template. You can choose blank, which is from scratch, or you can choose the basic city map or any of these topography ones. I would not do that. I would choose basic city map as your first template. And the reason behind that is because it's going to give you a three-layered map that then you can, from basically start to finish, make and then start to go. That aha moment kind of starts setting in as what you can do. And so we're going to create the project. And here we are at New York. So we're going to go ahead and use the search tool here and go to Astoria, Oregon. There we are. So this is kind of a cool piece right there. One thing I like to do is this satellite view. So like, let's say you're trying to find a landmark or whatever, you could turn that on. I don't really need it for this, but so I'll turn this off, and there you have it. Like, there's a lot you can do with Laser Map Maker as far as features go, but just like your basic land, water, roads is basically those three you see right there, which is the white, the gray, and the black. There's a lot of tools we can change thicknesses, but right now we're just going to move on to exporting. This is how quick you can be out the door. So we've created our map, and now we've searched for a location. We've panned, we've zoomed, we got it how we want. There's a layers list here on the side. What this is like an overview of each layer. So you may be like, well, I didn't choose vectorize, I didn't choose the strategy, and I didn't choose the format. Well, that is part of the basic city template. or the other templates for that matter, they come like pre-packaged with the settings you need. And the settings aren't super, super difficult, but just to make your first map, we think it's super helpful for you not to have to worry about that. So we've got a little bit of preview here for you, which this will be our cut layer, if you could imagine all this white space being cut out. This will be an engrave layer for those roads right on top of that cut layer. We're going to process them separately because they're different vector strategies, meaning one will be like a fill, which is like literally these lines filled in. And then this will be an outline of this solid piece here. And then we will also want this to be outlined because these are going to be cut roads that go on top. So if I've lost you, just hold on. We'll get through it. And you can ask questions too along the way. But next, we have this tiling feature. Uh, just to give you a quick click, you could do all sorts of stuff with that. We're not going to do anything with that. We're just going to click next. We'll get a layer summary here. Roads cut, land engraved, land water. So this is what we've put together and curated for you to be able to make your first map. So we're just going to say, hey, I want to export this, confirm you've reviewed it, and export. And now we wait for 45 minutes. I'm just kidding. It can take up to a minute or two, but it's not super bad. So folks end up on this screen and sometimes there is a little confusion of like, well, what do I do? Where do I go? And like there is this little thing here that we say export is still processing. If you have some usage here, depending on how much like credits you have, you'll be able to see that debited from your account. If for some reason the exports don't go through, which would be a very, very rare chance, then they will be kicked back to you. All right, so then we've got our land, water, and roads. We've got an attribution file here too. It's just basically our map provider Mapbox has just asks that if you're gonna, they basically have a link and say, hey, can you put this on your package somewhere or something like that. So very little ask. So we're gonna download this zip, and this is gonna give us all those files. And then we want to make sure we click output. That's the output of the result of the trace. So as you can see here, if we open the roads, click the output just to look at it, you can see right here that it has this nice traced outline of this road now. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to download all of those outputs. And since I'm sharing let's see, Astoria. Oh, Oregon. Let's do it to the desktop and I'll click save. And I know I am sharing my Google Chrome screen. So now I'm going to have to share my LightBurn screen. So I'm going to stop sharing. And we are going to visit LightBurn. So a few questions I've got about this is like, well, what if I don't have LightBurn? Just stick around. This is not it's not a LightBurn tutorial, but it does give you the picture of, a software and how you can make it work. Let's see. Is everybody seeing LightBurn? Got like a million screens, so yes, thanks, Tammy. Okay. So we're in LightBurn, and now we need to bring our files in. So something really important to note here is that LightBurn has its own defaults for things. Like you might bring a file in and it might show up with like outlines instead of like the solid thing that you're trying to do. And I'll show you kind of what that means. Just know that the results you got from Laser Map Maker, you want to put back if anything is, so to speak, funny there. So if we click on, let's see here. I'm on a different screen here, but I guess I'll just import. How about that? We'll import. Okay, this is the file. It was actually zipped, so I unzipped the file. This was on my desktop, so I unzipped the file, and now I have these three files. See at the end there, roads cut, land engrave, water cut. I'm going to bring these in one by one. If I bring them all in at the same time, they're going to stack on top of each other, and it's going to be hard to kind of pull apart. So let's just bring them in one by one. And there's roads cut. So roads cut would be our like topmost layer. And then I will bring in the next one. Let's see how we're doing on questions. Okay, we're doing good. Isaiah's been answering questions. Okay. So the next one we'll bring in is the land engrave. And then the next one will be our land cut piece. There's a lot of things you can do for laser cut maps. We're trying to merely show you what, like the basic levels of like what's possible. It's amazing how much attention a basic three-layered map like this could get from like a vendor booth or Etsy, and you know, being able to take it from Laser Map Maker, find your spot on the map, export, and be here in probably under 5 minutes is pretty cool because now you're not spending a bunch of time processing, which is important to me because I don't even like to do that. So okay, so we have these three layers here. And if you're familiar with, everyone here more than likely has a laser, we're going to want to figure out how to tell the laser how to chop this up. Hey, what things do we cut? What things do we engrave? And so the first thing I'd like to do, if you didn't notice, like there's like a border around this land engrave, and we might be like, well, why do we need that? You know, we and the answer is we don't need it when we cut. But we do need it because we now have this situation where we have to line things up. And so we try to provide that. So keep that in mind that this is a gotcha. Okay, there's two things going on here. Um, well, first of all, let me tell you about the defaults of LightBurn is a great example that just happened. Basically, like this is supposed to be filled, and it's showing as it's in line mode, and so it's actually doing the opposite. So what I like to do is just change it to a color that is really easy for me to see. This is like a green, and we'll leave this one like a black. And this is not LightBurn specific. Technically, this is like the same kind of thought process that goes into each kind of software like Xtool Studio or any of those. Like this line mode here, let's that we want to leave that line because that's what we want. Ultimately, we don't want anything filled. Let me show you what would happen if we filled it. We don't want that. We want to tell the laser where to cut for this one. For the blue, we want this to be filled. All right. And then we'll leave that border on there for now. And then for the red, we want the line mode because we want to tell the laser to cut all these lines and basically make everything else fall off behind it there. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with like the borders here, the borders are your friend. So imagine like you tried to cut this map out by yourself by tracing all these roads just like this. If you don't find a way to connect it to something, when you go to pull it off the laser, it's just going to be a big mess. And so our border feature really helps with that. It's not a full, like, blown solution for every situation. Case in point, if there's an island, it might be in the middle and you might have to deal with that. And there's really cool ways to do that. So the border is your friend, and the border is like you can make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want. It's there to help you pick up your map after you've cut it without having a million pieces. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. So anyways, I'm going to show you the end here, and then we're going to go back to the studio. So if I was to, let's see here. Let me zoom in. We have two kinds of borders. One is this kind of border, and then we have something called an alignment border, which is what you're seeing here. This alignment border was just basically put in by us so that you could actually align. So, and it comes in handy. Let's just click these real quick, get a warm and fuzzy that this is all one piece, and it's not. So I'm going to click this whole thing. Very similar process anywhere else. I'm going to click Command G because I keep grouping somewhere up here. I think it's right. It was right there, maybe. Yeah. So there's group and there's ungroup right there. So I grouped all these together using my Command G, which is for Mac group. And then I'm going to make sure that this is also grouped. So we'll just do the same thing real quick. Okay, now I'm going to select the land engrave and the land cut. And we're going to align these. So I'm just going to go up here to this tool and you can drag them into alignment however you want to do it. They snaps in your software. But I'm going to align the selected. I'm going to align vertically center. Then I'm going to align, am I saying that right? Horizontally center. Okay, there we go. Vertical and horizontal. Okay, cool. We're getting closer. So now we have this blue that's going to engrave, and we no longer need this blue on the outside. So how do we like get to this? There's a lot of ways, but all softwares kind of have like layer lock ability and stuff like that. So what I'd like to do is take this green, if I can grab it, let's see. I hate to show off my inexperience for LightBurn. Let's see here. Oh, actually, let's just do this. Let's ungroup this real quick. Let's ungroup the blue. So I'm highlighting the blue. I'm going to ungroup it. Now I'm going to take that border. Wrong border. Wrong border. Did I do that right? Let's see here. Oh, there's two. That's why. What's going on there? Okay. Yeah, there ended up being two lines there. Let me show that again. I think I know why. We'll show this. Let's go back. This is actually going to be a little bit longer of a crash course in the beginning here, but I want to show this to make sure everyone understands. So technically, what we could do here is like we have like an alignment, this solid line is like our alignment border, but since we ran a fill, kind of a wonky thing that happens, but technically what we should do is do something like ungroup, grab the inside one and delete it. Just have one alignment border. Um, we might look at trying to make that better. I've known about it for quite a while, but usually we just use it real quick and get rid of it. So sometimes like we live in a tunnel with what's easy and what's not. So I'm just going to group this back up. Make sure that's grouped. We'll do our alignment. You guys are getting like the double dose, so this is good. Horizontally center and vertically center. Um, and now we're back to this thing right here, and we'll click it. Looks like blue highlighted. So let's ungroup blue. And now let's click the outer border, which is that blue line, and let's delete it. So now you're left with, let's put this blue back to fill, right? So when we scroll in, that's going to engrave nicely. I believe you can also, yeah, we'll engrave that nicely. And then all of this stuff will cut out. So now this is just like one piece that's going to do a cut and an engrave job. And then you'll change out for this piece, or if you have, a laser big enough, you could easily maybe do both at the same time. Just depends on like your laser size and stuff like that. One last thing I want to mention here, and I'm gonna kind of like read the chat a little bit too, but just in case it's confusing to some folks, I know this might be easy for some people, but because I man the support, I've kind of realized that like this maybe somebody needs probably help on this. Um, Whenever you're like looking at this file and going, well, how am I going to do like engraving and cutting in this file? Well, just know that it's all how you set it up. Whatever software you're using, you're telling the laser what. So like this blue here, we're able to see the speed and power. Double click it and you can change the speed and power. We know the blue is engraved, so you need to figure out what your engraved settings are for your laser power and stuff like that and materials. So that's just a little something to pay attention to. And this is pretty much it. I spoke longer than I probably should have on this because this is actually pretty, like that process can be cut down quite a bit. And here's the great part. You might make some map files in the future that you just want to tweak a little bit, use over and over again, and you can do that. So I'm going to switch back to, let's see, stop share. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to look at the chat. If anyone has any questions, you can unmute, you can ask a question. Uh, and then I'm going to go, I'll just go ahead and pull up the laser map maker again. Be funny if I was just like muting everybody and not letting anybody speak.
So I've got kind of an advanced question. So I don't know if it's best to wait till later, but I had an issue with one of the maps that I made trying to narrow down which roads ended up on which layer. And I know that you can go in and select in the list, you can kind of choose the various road layers, but it didn't really align with what's really out there. I realize that it's it's looking at the Google Map layer and trying to interpret it from that, but it was just a little challenging to get the roads that I wanted on the layer that I wanted them on.
Interesting. Let's go to the studio. You see my screen here in the studio?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my question is, were you doing topography?
Nope. Just a 3-layer.
So you're doing a 3-layer map where you had roads at a different level than the land?
Nope. I had the like kind of what you have there. I had a cut, which was a river. I had an engrave, which was all of the surface roads, and then a cut, which was the major streets. But the problem was that what I know about the streets in the area, when I was going into the list to say choose like highways, it was arbitrarily choosing roads that didn't belong on the layer that they ended up on. So I ended up with tributary roads on the cut layer, and I ended up with roads that should have been major roads on the engraved layer.
Okay. So I let me just ask you a clarifying question. When you go to the layers like this, uh, are you able to were you able to see, like this one says roadways primary streets,
Yep.
and then you came in here and you added a different kind of roadway, maybe like a tertiary.
Yeah. So yeah, I was picking those, and that's exactly what it was. Is that picking secondary and tertiary to try to get the roads that I wanted on that engraved layer, but they weren't categorizing properly. I was picking tertiary roads, and it wasn't showing me the roads that I wanted, but the roads that I was trying to get included were categorized as primaries or highway.
Right.
Again, I suspect that that just has to do with the algorithm and the way that Laser Map Maker tries to figure out what roads are what based on the data coming from Google or
Yeah,
Mapbox, right?
it could be that. And did you reach out to support about this by chance?
No, I was in a little bit of a rush. The project turned out fine in the end.
Oh, okay. Okay,
I
good.
just ended up spending a bunch of time. It was a Christmas gift for a friend of mine, but it ended up being I just had to do a lot of kind of manual cleanup. Just ended up importing
Perfect.
the layers in and to Inkscape and did a lot of tweaking in there to make it right. So it worked
Nice.
out in the end. But
Okay, one last question. Did you use scale?
Did I use scale?
We'll talk about it here in a sec, but this map scale over here.
Did, that changes the amount that you can see, or is that what you're talking
Right.
about?
Yeah, so
I,
um
I, I probably did because I wanted a fairly large area, right? The map that I made is for
yeah.
a small town in Nebraska,
S-
and the problem is that when it's really, really zoomed in, it has no identifying characteristics. And I wanted there's a river that runs east to west across the north half of the cut, but then there's major highways that run down the east edge of the map. But then finally, I had to be way out in order to get what I wanted.
Yeah. And that could be sometimes it is just straight up the map data. A good way to think about it too is like we have this map providers that any map provider you ever choose basically they have something that basically shows certain things at certain zoom levels, and that could have been part of your problem. I'm not saying it is. I'd like to know more about it if you're interested in showing, like maybe send me an email with some screenshots and try to like say,
Yeah,
explain it to
I
me
can.
like I'm three, and that way I can kind of like see if maybe it could literally just be the map data we have for that area. I just don't know, but um, yeah, thanks for bringing it up. You just shoot me an email and try to if you want to. If it
No,
hasn't been much of an issue since, then it's okay too.
no, it's fine. The other thing too is do you have the ability to look at a saved project? Like if I told you my account name and the project, I've got one project in my account.
Yes.
Could you? I mean, I don't necessarily have to do it right now, but like I could send you that, and so now you're basically not looking at screenshots. You're looking at what I actually ended up with.
Yes. So go to your project and
Yep.
go to the URL at the top.
Yep.
In that when you're in the studio and
Yep.
send me that link and I'll be able to impersonate you at that
Do you
point.
want the whole link or just
The
the
whole link, yeah, is fine.
GUID? Yeah.
We could take the ID off the end is what we do, but we just tell people to send us the link. So that
Okay. And
okay.
do you want me to send that to like a support email
Support,
to
yes,
support?
yes, support at lasermapmaker.com.
No problem. I'll do that. Yeah,
Cool.
cool. Thank you. Like I said, it's a little bit of an advanced question.
No worries. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's it. The street data could very well be. Here's a quick, like overview of when like let's say we zoom out, right? We have these big thick uh, roads that kind of start to blur, and then they eventually change, and that's all just. It's actually not even really us. That's our third party map provider. Basically, it's an exponential zoom thing. And as we go in, then we start to see more. And so, depending on zoom levels at certain map features, that's might be what you're experiencing. Uh, and then we have this little map scale tool for folks that want to be like zoomed out, but they want to see more detail. So, if I were to zoom like way out here, that's actually quite a bit of detail for being this zoomed out. If we were to do that again and zoom out, you start to lose a lot of that. Um, so
yeah,
no, great question on that. It could be a number of things, and unfortunately, maps be hard. So we just kind of have to like talk about it, and you have to show
right,
me and all.
right. Cool. All right. Well, thank you. I'll send you the email here and follow up. I did have one other question. I'll table that for the support chat because it deals with borders.
Okay.
That's not really a question, but kind of maybe a suggestion. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you, Elias. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No problem. I'm gonna just try to get through the studio stuff. Anybody is very welcome to unmute or just jump in the chat. Trying to find the chat. Here we go. Chat.
I had a real quick follow-up kind of question that was related to what we were just talking about, just the difference between the zoom and the scale in what we're seeing. You
Oh,
were just
okay.
talking about it, but like that difference, like I don't know if a lot of us understand.
Okay. Yes. So what's happening is this. And I was gonna touch on the scale stuff. Sometimes like people want to make a map, like they want to capture like a lot. Like they want to capture like this much maybe. But as you can see, and don't, as we zoom out, you can see some of this looks pretty ugly. That's just because of like how I set up the widths and stuff. But if somebody wants to capture a large area, what happens is we lose detail. Like these little lines, they start to disappear at a certain level, and they come back at a certain level. But if we were to use the map scale tool, and it kind of makes the map bigger. We kind of like trick the what's going on under the hood. And now when you can see all that detail, and you're even way higher. So you're able to capture more at that detail. Like you don't lose it as quickly as like when you're like this. You might lose it as you zoom out at all. So rule here is if you're like, I'm trying to capture this thing and I've turned on these streets and I don't see them, well, you probably need to turn on your map scale. So hopefully that helps. Okay, I'm gonna give a quick dive here on the left, like the panel, and just try to help everyone understand what we did, what's happening. So we're familiar with roads cut, land engrave, and land water cut. Be, so we're familiar with these because we just did those files. So
Where do you turn on map scale? Can you just show me one more time? I'm sorry.
sure, yeah, no, you're fine. It's here on the right side. It's got like a scale icon, and then you can just turn it up and zoom, and there is a level where it affects the integrity of the map, and it just looks horrible. So we've turned it up that far at this point. We might get more detail in the future, but
So does it make sense to say that like the normal zoom out, things will disappear to declutter? This allows us to keep some of the clutter if we're trying to get some type of detail to stay there if we zoom out.
um, yes, I think I see what you're saying. So if I'm like, I really want to capture this much. Oh, I lost my lines. I lost my street lines. I really wanted to capture this whole thing here. Now I want to hover. I'm going to hover over zoom. It's at 10.97. That's the zoom level you're at. That's actually a nice little thing to know is you can check your zoom level exactly where you're at. So in other maps, if you like that, you can follow that. But let's say you're like, I really wanted it right here, but I lose my roads at this level. You can turn on scale, and now you're zoomed way out, right? But like if you look here, it's 10.91, right? So you can tell just from like where we were just at, we're really far zoomed out compared to where we were. But now that detail is available at that higher zoom level. Cool. All right. So on the left-hand side here, I'm going to give you a quick overview. We created these layers. This is because this was a template. And this might be like, oh my goodness, like all of these roads and all this stuff. Well, let me show you um, how you can do this. Um, I'm just gonna delete these real quick. This might be kind of daunting for some, but you don't have to do this. You can use the basic city map. And then we have the satellite overlay, so it's good to know. We've got satellite if we want to use it. We have an opacity here, so you can kind of play both sides. And let's say, okay, we want to add a layer. And we really need a land cut layer like we demonstrated in LightBurn. Just going to call it that. For land cut, I know I need these two pieces, waterfill and landfill. Between the two, they show where the lines need to be traced. So let's turn off the satellite. And I'm going to make water blue. And I will make the land like gray. So if you were to trace this, or if we were to trace this today, wherever those colors are different, that's where the tracing mechanism is going to say, let's make a line here. So we've made our land cut just based off of that information, knowing that we can do that. So I'm going to show you the next thing I would do. You can do this after you go into Preview Export or before. You can click these three little dots. You can, if you forgot something, you can add to the layers. So I can update it. I can update the name. I can add more features. I can select all of any of these. But I'm just going to, I'll click out because I didn't make any updates. You can select all the features here. You can delete, you can hide, you can lock. But what we're after is, how is this thing going to connect to the border? So I'm going to click this little settings thing here, cog there. And we're going to say, okay, this land cut, that's going to be an outline. That's not a fill like our land engrave. So we're going to actually say outline for tracing strategy. SVG, 99% of the time, I think folks are going to use SVG. So that's pretty common. You need to match your border to the color to like the land. We want the land to stay behind and we want to cut out the water. So we want the border to be the same color. You can use this color dropper, or you can just click the color, or you can, well, that's weird. It says undefined in there. Something happened there. It's weird, but oh, it is defined, but it's showing undefined. Cool. Well, looks like we have a bug. Not a big deal. You could still make a map, but you can use the color dropper if you don't use Safari. You click on it, and there you go. Now your border matches your land, and now you can see this will just kind of weld together, and the outline will be the water, and the water will fall out when you pick it up off your laser. Let's see. Questions. Isaiah's answering questions. Cool. Is the order of things important? Yes. Changes the view. Excellent question. So real quick, I'm going to add another layer, and we'll call this one the land engrave, which is the tiny roads on top there. Roads, and then, sorry, I'm going pretty fast here. So let's go to the roads category. We'll go to roadways. And then since this is like a engrave, let's just use, I think it's just primary streets for this one. Click it, and there you go. You can see those little lines on there. Well, what if this was down here? Well, first it has to work. What's going on there? We've got some sort of, I might just be having an issue with my computer here. Okay. Well, for some reason it's not working all of a sudden. There's a layer order thing and it worked. I was just literally making a map today. Maybe it's because I have all these windows up or something. I don't know. But it does matter your view. So imagine it like this. However you create the map physically is how you want to build the layers in the panel. So we have our land cut, then we're going to engrave on top of our land cut, and now we're going to add the roads cut. Roadways. And now we're like, well, what do we do? Who in the world knows what a minor on ramp and off ramp is going to look like? So this is something we get quite a bit. People are like, what do I do with this information? Well, we can do something called, we can be subtractive about this. We can, instead of being additive, because this is a lot, and we try to compile this in a way that makes as much sense as possible, but there is a level of like, you're going to have to look at it. So roadways, just select all those. I'm going to take primary streets off because we already did that. And what's going to happen now is literally this roads cut is going to include all of these roads. And let's say this is like a pretty good point at this point to say like, well, what if I didn't want this road? Well, technically a bridge. Let's introduce you. I'm going to take off scale because it's kind of a nuisance when you don't want it to be. Um, I turn off the satellite because that's sometimes it makes it hard to see. Satellite's great for trying to find the location, especially areas that are a little bit harder to like, I think my house is over here. So what if I was like, wait a minute, I don't want all these roads in here. You could go to this tool, which is the toggle inspect tool, and just hover over the lines on the map. So this is where it becomes subtractive. You can add things and then take them away after you see what they are. Look at the bottom of my screen. You'll see a couple uh, features that popped up. That's because I'm hovering over two. So if I clicked on it, you'll see selected two items down here, and you'll see this style button popped up here. Now I could do a lot of things. First of all, I could turn off toggle inspect, and I could say I want to style these. I want to make them red, the ones I just clicked on. So those specifically changed. So it's a cool way to like mass kind of work on things, or you could be like, I want to delete them, and then it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to do that? And you can delete just those roads, and now we're left with the roads remaining. So you can be subtractive. Now I'm going to show you how to put it back. Roads cut, update layer, roads, category, roadways, and then we can literally just select all this stuff again and take off primary streets. Let's see. Could you show me an example of a location? School North. What should you do with the water, land, and layer? I can try. I can try. So this is North Holland, Netherlands. Everybody in the comment, or if you look in the comments, um, we can try to do that. Let's see. I have no idea what to expect, but you might have to be more specific. Like give me an address or something. Maybe we can try it then. So looks like we're still admitting people in here. Oh. So I want you to think of the left-hand panel as like stacks. Literally, the bottom is your land cut. That's your bottom piece. One thing that nobody asked, but is absolutely necessary to know is, well, what about water? I see land and I see roads, but what about water? Well, water is just the whole piece. So if we're making a square, cut out the bottom square. So go into your favorite third-party editor like LightBurn or whatever it is, and no, I'm not sponsored by LightBurn. Anyways, and make a square. Cut that square out, and there's your water. How does it work? When you have your land above it, it's revealed because remember, we cut out the water piece from the land. So it reveals itself. So that's why we don't actually have a water layer. We probably should put it in just so people can have a template to work off of. But there's a lot of like, you know, I've never heard anyone have like super big issues with just saying like, oh, I need to cut a square. Or let's say you do a shape. Let's say this is a good introduction to shapes here. What if you did a heart? Well, what do you do if you export this and now you need to have a water layer on bottom? My suggestion is to copy one of your layers that you've imported into your program, like LightBurn or whatever it is. Just make a duplicate, ungroup everything, and have until you just have the heart, just the heart shape by itself. So it's some pretty basic editing. In the future, you could just create a layer. You could create a layer with nothing in it. There you go. There's nothing in it. And then we could sit here and say, this is our water, if you wanted to do that. And all it is just going to be the outside outline shape of this. So any questions on that? What if I don't want to have a raised road cut, but I do want to have the bridge to cut? You can do that. So the way you would do that, so what this person's asking, I believe, is what if I want this black line to be on the same level as this gray land? So I'm going to show you. First, I'm going to use my inspect tool. I'm going to hover over this road's bridge that this person's speaking about. I'm going to, did I click on the right thing? Oh, I clicked on water fill, I think. Sorry. Trying to hover over the right thing, make sure I got the right thing. I think that's it. It's kind of hard to see. So let me just test this real quick. Does this turn red? Okay, it does. I'm going to use my, now that I've highlighted that road and I've got it in this editing panel here, I'm going to use my color dropper and I'm going to just make it the same color. There you go. So that could be, and here's something else, because I didn't exactly think about this. If you wanted to do that, we actually don't need roads. If you want to do a land cut with those bridges, you need to be able to go update the land cut layer, go to roadways, and then go to, well, I would just select everything. And I think, right, we said primary streets for the engrave. So I'd take that off. I would just add that. And well, we don't really need all this, right? Because this is just internal. But what we could do is see this cool little select all features layer in the layer. We can select that. We can't have landfill in there or water fill. But, and then we're able to style because all of these are the same kind of line type. So we'll style that. And then we'll simply go color dropper, this gray, and then we want to override it. So now if you cut that, you get your bridges at the land level. And you're more than able to put roads on top if you want or not. Just depends on what you want. I'm going to delete this. Anyone have any questions? Someone asked if bathymetrics are in the works. What if okay, the water question. Can I do water depths? Okay. Yeah. Water depths are in the works. And I just had chatted with somebody today on support. I wonder if they're here, but I kind of just told them like, hey, last year was our first full year as laser map maker. The year before that was not a full year even. And last year was a turning point for us. So we had a lot of things we needed to take care of to make to be able to turn our focus to laser map maker completely. It's just two founders running this thing. So we do have bathymetry in the works, and we are focused heavily on it. And it's going well. So I hope that, I want it probably more than some of the people that use this platform. I've been wanting it for quite a while myself. I think it's like the coolest thing you can do for layered maps. So what we don't want to do is put out a half-baked solution that makes people more frustrated. So we are testing. I literally ran a test the other day on some data that we're building, and just making sure we're doing it right. So when we hand it off to the users, you guys, that you at least are happy with the result, even if you'll figure out that it's still a little bit difficult, but a lot easier than it was. So let's see. I remember when you first launched. Whoa. Wow, that's so cool. You've been here this whole time. I made one of my first maps by hand. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What would it take to get folders on the homepage? I don't know if you've asked this before, Matt, but every time it's been asked a few times, and every time I'm like, that is a great idea. So we do have somebody taking notes, and we'll bring that back to the table. I think that's a good one. Once you get a lot of projects going, it gets a little confusing. So real quick on the right-hand side, let's go over just the tools, just very, very quickly. Toggle full screen. Great way for you to be able to get the map where you want it, pan, zoom. We do have a like a learn center. You can use that. Toggle lock mode, but it just locks the map for you. Toggle inspect mode. This is the inspector where we can view the layers. So it's I love that tool a lot. Satellite overlay, very useful for when you're like out in the middle of nowhere and you're like, I'm trying to find, oh, there's my house, that kind of thing. And then you can turn the layer off. And obviously that's not my house. Please don't think that's my house. Right? Let's go back here. Here we go. And then we can turn off satellite mode just like that. So then we've got our search tool. If you have the coordinates, you can use them. If you want to search something, just make sure you wait for it to drop down, so you could be like, I don't know. Now I'm drawing a blank. Somewhere, Seward, what was it? Seward, Alaska? Someone was in Alaska here? Seward, Alaska. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
that's me. I live in Anchorage, but
Cool. Cool, cool. So like you just wait for the drop down. You're gonna see a bunch of results. There might be one that makes more sense. So don't just click enter, maybe look at it. And that's our search tool. Zoom, just a nice way for you to like zoom a little bit. Or maybe you get really good with Laser Map Maker and you're like, no, every single time I want this thing at 11, right? And what that does, and for folks that are like selling maps, sometimes like there's a certain like style where there's like a certain height, that you want every time for consistency, and that's really cool for that. Rotate, you can rotate your map if you want it a different angle. And then if you're like, wait, make it stop, I want to go back, you can click true north. And there you are. Then we've talked about map scale, and then we have these map shapes. We have a few geometric shapes. We really need to add more. Just shoot us messages on any shapes that you think would be cool. We can add those, and then we do have the U.S. state shapes for now. We might have some other like countries and stuff later, but we do have a lot of users from the U.S. here. And then we have this aspect ratio and size tool. Now check this out. Oregon looks really big. Maybe we don't need that much. We can just go whoop, like that, and then pan the map a little bit to get it where we want it. One thing I'm going to show you here is if you are using a square, we do let you change the aspect. So let's say you go to Hobby Lobby and you buy like a 10-inch by 12-inch frame, and you're like, I need to build this map. Well, you literally just type 10 by 12, and then you can change the size. And then if you don't like that orientation, you can flip it 12 by 10. That's really powerful for being able to use frames that you bought for Jeep, and you can set your aspect ratio. You can also choose from aspect ratios that we have preset here. And like I mentioned before, let's see, 16 by 9 is huge, right? Well, you can click this thing at the top and be able to like look at what you're doing before you put it back. Same with the layers panel. You can close it here if you want to. Some people might want it actually like dark mode or light mode. So any questions on that? Let's see. When you travel to and resize one layer, does it take us there and match with all of the other layers?
If you take one layer and go to a different place in the map or resize it, say you're on the same area of the map, but you like zoom in a little bit. Does it do that with the same like with the other layers?
I would say for the most part, like you might have a little tweaking to do. So when you get into like topography, which we'll try to set up some sessions for topography, that's when it gets hard because you might be setting up layers of topography that go in 20-meter intervals all the way to, I don't know, let's just say 100 meters. And um, you might have this nice, perfect template that you really like and you want to use again. And then you do a different mountain range and it doesn't have the same effect, or it's too small. Like your new mountain range is too small. So you have to chop some layers off, and you might want to be like, well, I want to do less intervals, right? Instead of 20 meters, I want to do 10 meters every 10 meters so that I get a good amount of layers. So it matters more for topography and when we get bathymetry out than it does for city map stuff. So that's a good question. So let's go back. Save project. That's always good. We do have autosave, but funny enough people asked us if they could save their project that we finally just put a save button there, and it actually works. So it's an extra save for you, and I think it's wise. I think it is wise. So let's go back to the dashboard real quick. So if you ever want, like, let's say this Astoria, Oregon, we're like, whoa, we are so happy with this template. Like, don't change anything. I want the line width, I want the colors, I want all of that, which I'll try to give you guys like a little bit on that in just a second here. You can make duplicates of this project and then you just rename it. And that way it's like maybe you've got an Etsy store, or maybe you've got orders coming in. You don't have to like go in and create a new project or use the basic city map template anymore. You can just duplicate what you've already got, and now you're just searching a different spot on the map possibly, or changing a small thing for that order. And then you have it. And what's kind of nice about that is maybe it's a proof you have to send over and then somebody wants you to tweak something again. That way you're not messing with the original. So I did want to just touch on this real quick. When you open up, like remember these are all layers. I'm gonna add this back. So roads cut. And we're kind of getting close on time too. It feels like it goes so fast. Roads cut. Brevity's not my strong suit either. I'll just add this real quick. Okay. So if you want to do any editing, you might have seen me like kind of go into one of these. Uh, there's many ways to do it. You might want to do a lot of editing. You click like all of these on and you click some of these off, or there's all sorts of like small little things you can do here. But I wanted to point it out like let's go into roads, one of these features here. If you want to disable feature filters, it's funny enough, it's actually it was a beta thing we were testing when we first launched Laser Map Maker. We've never taken it away, but we're going to take it away because it is absolutely worthless. Like nobody uses it. Zoom range, um, that's what like range the feature will show up in. The reason that's important is because not all features show up in certain zoom ranges. So the person earlier who was talking about roads not showing up, that could be too, but I just need to see it. It's just so weird. So confession, right before this live, we pushed an under the hood change to Laser Map Maker. So Isaiah, if you're listening, we have undefined color here, but it doesn't seem to affect the actual color. It just thinks it's undefined, so it's adding that word. We'll have to fix that, but that doesn't stop this from working, which is nice. Kind of funny how things happen like that. So lesson learned, right before a live session, don't push to production. That's yeah. Then you have line pass opacity. We don't know why you'd want this, but people have asked for it. You have line width. So like, let me override this line width and just turn it up. So there's something to consider too. You might be at a certain zoom level and you might be like, that looks super ugly, right? But the more you zoom in, it might be okay. You just mess around with it and see what works for you. Line cap and line join. So like, let's zoom in. I'll try to see if we can get this to like see one of these examples. So like anything that has so line cap, like the end of something, like that might be it. Might be one. It's gonna be I should have come up with one to find first. Basically for things that intersect or have corners or have ends like this, if you've got something weird going on, you might want to look at your line cap. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. Let's see, miter. Can't even find an example right now. It's funny. It doesn't happen very often. Sometimes people want a line that's curved versus like a 90-degree angle, and those can assist in that way. You can also like lock your features so that if you're happy with it and you're like, okay, I got to remind myself not to touch this thing. You can lock anything you want. Quick little gotcha is if you decide at any point during this studio to hide a layer, it does not mean it won't export. It simply means that you're just hiding it for the studio so that you can work. Maybe there's something in the way and you're like, that's so annoying. So you hide it and all those roads disappear and you can just see the land there. So cool. During this session, I found 2 bugs, so I feel complete. This has been really resourceful for me. Very small ones, but they get in. So let's look at the chat here. County shapes for inside. Oh, county shapes. Absolutely, Troy. I agree with you on this. County shapes. That is a very good one. Do we have the ability to create our own shapes for borders? Not yet, but that could work. That could work. Where can I find the full recording of the Zoom? We will post it. I'll try to send out let's do Facebook of the live, and maybe Isaiah can post the Facebook or somebody can post the official Facebook page or the official Facebook group. We'll just post a link there. Oh, Isaiah said we'll post on the event page once available. Okay, gotcha. I like the individual states. Can you make the total USA? Funny enough, we can't do that yet. We should do that. When it comes to the cities, oh, I'm just trying to catch up here. Okay, we're there we are. How is the best way to show that within one of the layers? Oh, that have mountains. Gotcha. That is, we need to see an example, Melanie. Like there's ones like if there's cities with mountain or elevations and stuff like that. Now we're getting into topography lessons, which we might save for a different session. But you could always send us a message and we can kind of chat about it and see. So who's confused? Is anyone confused? It's a lot to take in. Even if you've done it before, like traced by hand. Let's see. Please set up a topography session. Okay. I like to jump in to the most complicated version. Hilarious. Not confused, excited to make time to play with it. Would love to learn Topo. Yeah, definitely. I'm sure some of you know I did put out a topography video. I did it before we had topography templates. So it's like if you were building it from scratch. But it is nice to be able to just chat with people and let them ask questions because I do understand that it's not obvious to everybody because I've done it, so I know, but sometimes things aren't obvious to folks, which is fine. Cool. Helped a lot. Got oh yeah, helped a lot. Got to play with it now. These lives make me motivated. Oh, thank you. That makes me motivated to keep doing them. Oh, Isaiah's raising his hand.
Yeah, so I just wanted to briefly just say that, we're going to be trying to have these lives every week or at least a couple a month. Like we really want you guys to all be successful with this platform. So just, if you're frustrated or you don't understand something, please feel free to reach out to support. We have the little live chat, as well as you can send us an email, which is listed on our website. And then if you're in the Facebook groups, you can also ask it there. But please feel free to ask these questions. You're probably not the only one that has the question. And we certainly haven't thought of everything. And we're doing our best to juggle, support, learning resources, as well as, tackling new features. So please don't feel shy, reach out, and then also feel free to come back to another live. You might be somebody who can help somebody else be successful. And, we want to see everybody be successful on the platform. So please feel free to jump in and participate. We're really looking forward to seeing what you guys create with the platform.
Yeah, and if you haven't joined, I know that some folks in here don't have a Facebook, and that's totally fine. We have an official Facebook group just because we find it useful for folks to ask questions. And what's really cool is we get a lot of some really cool maps people make, and we'd love for you to join that and see what other people are making. That would be really cool. I think Isaiah posted a link in the chat here. Uh, if you have a Facebook and you haven't joined, I'd recommend you do that. It's motivating for one to see other people make cool things, and we'd appreciate it just because like there is that level of like oh, like there's things that people have made, like certain styles that we're like, oh, we didn't even think about that, or we could we could make that work. Like what I think one guy cuts out these big pieces for walls with like a machine that's like basically like an X-Acto knife. It's not even a laser, but he makes these huge map pieces for like restaurants and realtor offices and all sorts of stuff, and they look really cool. So lots of application there. If we have an example of a map we've seen and we think I really want to do that, can support help us figure it out? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Here's what I would suggest too is like this year is the year of hiring for Laser Map Maker. So we've already started to build a team, and we're trying to hit all of those levers better, including support. But what I would suggest is if you do have a Facebook and you do have our Facebook group handy, you should put your question in there as well. If it's not something that you know, you feel like you just need one of us absolutely to answer. Sometimes you just got to say like, "Hey, why is this line here?" And somebody knows, and you're out the door, and you're back to doing your laser stuff. Uh, so that was a good point there. Well, we're basically out of time, but I'm happy to hang out for a few more minutes if anybody has any burning questions. I actually have a question for everybody. Is anybody going to the Next Level Laser Conference? Actually, it's called Maker, Next Level Maker Conference. No problem, Susan. Peggy's going. Cool. Awesome. Let's see here. Nice extension feature for your save project would be to save a copy so you can save a map state while you're iterating. Ooh, I see. Okay, wow, there's a lot of yeses in here. So a lot of people are going to this conference. That's really cool. Cool. We're gonna be there again. This will be our third year. We've got some fun things coming. So this we're working on a lot of things, but we do have if you have a laser or other machines, you could
Or
be
three.
interested. Yeah. Yeah. Whoever just has one laser. So it's always that math. Well, if I want to produce this, then I got to have this many lasers. Does anybody, I don't know if I've ever shared I don't know if anybody here, but Laser Map Maker was started because I started a laser business, and it wasn't based around maps. So I've been in the thick with trying to make something work. And I understand some folks are just here for gifts and other things like that. But if you are here and you're trying to start a business, if I like didn't have anything else on my plate, I would start I would start a map making business with Laser Map Maker because it just the problem before is the time, and we're knocking those doors down with, more and more data and more ways. So when the time becomes less, now you can do the math and go, okay, we were out the door in 20 minutes with really nice laser files, and we're gonna go tell the laser what to cut and what to engrave. And a couple hours in or less with packaging, or if you have stain, then it takes longer and stuff. But you can sit there and go, cool, this is a $299 piece, and I'm gonna make 6 of them and go to my local event or sell them on Facebook Marketplace or set them up in my store. But Isaiah and I are very proud, and we really like that maps in general are interesting and expensive. And so anybody who's getting us software from us, the value can come back within just a few map sales, which is what we actually really like, that you basically can sell your way back to a free subscription. Let's see here. We aren't doing a breakout session. We could do a breakout session. I haven't actually thought about that. Yeah. Will you guys be doing a breakout session or hands-on? We will have, like, every year we try to improve. So the first year we brought our computer and a picture, I think, like a background of a map. And the second year we brought like a ton of maps. And the third year we definitely, like, let's put it this way, we bought 4 booths. And you're going to be able to walk into our space, and there's going to be multiple things to look at other than maps too. So you're gonna have a lot to do there, but breakout sessions might be a good idea. I could talk to Will and maybe think about what we would do. What we do try to do is just give a quick demo too. If you come to MapMaker, if you come to the conference and you're interested, we should have a good amount of people there, other than just myself and Isaiah, that will be manning the booth with us, and we could have a few computers just set up for kind of like a walkthrough, or like I'm stuck on this. Maybe you've got a grasp a little bit, but you have a question, and we could just try to help you right there. But let me think about the breakout room. I hadn't even, like, I think Will might have mentioned it to me uh in some capacity, but I didn't maybe I just didn't understand it. Um so let me think about that. That's a good idea. Questions? Oh, the time for these sessions. Um, East Coast and West Coast balance, right? That's one thing that I've been trying to find. We've only done 2, and on the West Coast, we've done it at 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. So this is our 4 p.m. And I don't know if I just advertised it better or what, but I think we've got like triple or quadruple the people. So this might be a good time in the future. Does anybody feel like this was hard to make? This time is great. Cool. Cool, cool. And I'm good with this time. Works for me. Great time for me. Cool. Okay. What I'd love to do in the future too is I'd love to set up sessions where we're out in the shop doing some stuff on the laser. It's a little hard if you think about it. Uh, you got to be strategic about what you cut and what you do so you don't take up a bunch of time. And we probably will more than likely have um, better, let's see, better videos coming. So we'll try to hit it from all angles. We'll do some sessions. We'll create more video content. Um, Admittedly, some of it's a scramble. Like, we released topography, and I was like, oh, I gotta make a video, and it's a bit of a scramble. So, um, if you have like suggestions on things that you think would just completely change, like, I would absolutely be, if there's something that's just like such a turning point for you for Laser Map Maker that you're almost there, like you would love to be a long-term user, or but something's not meeting your needs, which I understand bathymetry is going to be one of those. Um, I would love to know. I would love to know. You can just send me a note through support@lasermatmaker.com, or you can just Elias, my first name Elias, at lasermatmaker.com. You can send it there and just tell me, uh, some folks have done that. Like, hey, I really wanted to use your software, but you don't have golf data. And one big thing we want to get is bathymetry. That's important to us. But another one is golf data. We love our golf too. So, and then there's all sorts of other stuff, trails, and we're kind of getting into like the licensing territory, like more licensing and more we kind of have to play that game. It can be very expensive too. So we're definitely trying to figure out what could be a long-term solution. Last thing we want to do is set up a bunch of stuff and then have it pulled from under us. So that is that there. Looks like if anyone doesn't have any more questions, we'll just say goodbye. I'll put out a new session for next week. It'll be very similar to this one. We'll probably give it another couple weeks before I start introducing any more kinds of sessions. And if you have ideas, like specific session ideas that you would like maybe in a more in-depth jump into, I'm all ears. If you feel like Xtool Studio is really hard to use with Laser Map Maker files, let me know, and maybe we'll do like a smaller session on just on that to focus in on that. But just keep in mind that at the end of the day, these are SVG files. So just like any other files, SVG files you use in all your softwares, these are just another set of those. And how your laser cuts and engraves is completely on what you tell it to do based on those files. So, all right. Well, thank you all for coming. It's great to see everyone, and don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you. Appreciate this very much.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care.
Take care. See ya.